Hi, I'm Mike Nelson with Thoughts from the Driver's Seat. Today we're going to be talking about how people interact with vehicles that have advanced ADAS systems. And of course, today I'm in a Tesla, and let's talk about the early days of Tesla monitoring how drivers stay engaged. And it was all through how well connected you were to your steering wheel. Hands on the steering wheel was the only way Tesla monitored whether or not you were doing your job of paying attention, which doesn't really account for when you're looking out the other window, or you're putting your car seat into a reclined position, or you fall asleep. There's outrageous behavior all over the internet, but I digress. So Tesla started with this interior camera that's right above the rearview mirror, evaluating how much drivers were engaged, as well as monitoring hands-on wheel. So they're using both systems. Ford and General Motors only require that you stay engaged looking down the road. In fact, they advertise hands-off. Our friends at the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety have been critical of systems that use just one of those approaches, and they feel, while not perfect, hands-on wheel and cameras monitoring engagement was probably the best that was going to be accomplished at this juncture. So how long do you have to stay engaged in a Tesla? So I was driving my car the other day just to evaluate what, in full self-driving, how long, even if you were looking down the road, you could take your hands off the wheel before anything happened. And it was about 20 seconds. Not scientific, because I'm driving and paying attention, but I'm going 1,001, 1,002. You get the point. And then I ended up in some traffic when I got to New York City, bumper to bumper. And I knew in traffic-aware cruise control, which is part of full self-driving, think bumper to bumper traffic, 5-10 miles an hour. Can you take your hands off the wheel? And 1,001, 1,002, 240 seconds. Tesla's pretty open about that when you're in traffic, you could take your hands off the wheel and it's not going to be nudging you or warning you to do it, to put your hands back on. I'm not sure that's the safest way to deal with traffic and customers paying attention. And other companies are much more strict about that. So for anybody who's been following these issues regarding Tesla and the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, NHTSA, knows that NHTSA has been doing an investigation that's been going on for 4 years now. Frankly, I don't think NHTSA has really known how to take a good look at this problem. It's a complicated issue. But Tesla has been giving data to NHTSA to evaluate accidents, some serious, some not. And NHTSA recently issued a report on April 25th, 2024. And they looked at what Tesla had done in response to an earlier report that came out last fall, where NHTSA said driver engagement with the car was probably not safe enough, and that the car was probably not operating in full self-drive and autopilot in a safe enough manner. So Tesla said, okay, fine, we'll do an over-the-air update. And they sent over-the-air updates out in December. But all the over-the-air updates did was change how they monitor driver engagement. It doesn't manage or change the hardware in the car, the software in the car, from the standpoint of stopping at red lights or navigating through construction zones. It simply was, we're going to put more emphasis on this camera and by default, a slightly less emphasis on steering wheel engagement. And again, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety thinks you should have both. I also have a Rivian RT1 truck, and it's a car in many ways that mimics the self-driving features of a Tesla. There is a lens here for a camera, but as far as I know, they're not using that to monitor driver behavior from the standpoint of engagement. Time will tell as to whether or not that's going to be a feature. But Rivian's much more restrictive on the hands-on approach. And take your hands off the steering wheel, you got 7 seconds. And it's going to tell you you're not behaving properly. And then it's going to move to shut you down pretty quickly. So who's right there? They're not engaging my view down the road. But you also don't hear about Rivian having as much of a problem with organizations like NHTSA, because they're not having the accidents and they don't quite have the full self-driving capabilities that Tesla does. But they're going in that direction. So it's going to be interesting to see how much Rivian moves away from just the haptic control of the steering wheel, and whether they start to monitor driver engagement with the camera up here. Every car is being built differently, and that's what's going to make it hard for organizations like NHTSA to decide who's right or wrong. Attached to this video are links to the recent report by NHTSA, as well as a recent report by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Notably, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety looked at all of these full self-driving vehicles, didn't pick up on Rivian for whatever reason, and gave every organization, every car manufacturer a failing grade except for one. And if you really care about this stuff, I commend to you to read that report, and I think the research on that is done really, really well. Until the next time, we'll see you on the road ahead. Zoom, zoom.